a religious fence called an Eruv. Hundreds of residents have come out saying, not in our town.
Neighboring towns are worried that waves of Jews are coming in.
I think that the problem we're facing here is people don't like change.
It's anti-Semitic. That council should roll up its brown shirts, take off its arm sleeve and its wristband.
You cannot deny religious based on nationality, based on sex.
But how
to
can
go
you have
into their town?
anti-Semitism if you've got Jews that are saying the same thing? Welcome to Chasing News. Happy Monday. We've been chasing a story for about a week now about what some are calling a religious fence. Notably, a fence called an Eruv that has been put up by Hasidic Jews in town after town in New Jersey. The controversy, of course, started in Mahwah, where hundreds of residents have come out to protest and push back, saying, not in our town. Well, this has resulted reportedly by one of our guests, who you're going to meet later, by a letter from the Attorney General's office in New Jersey saying, not so fast, Mayor. Before you start talking about a ban on a religious symbol, we may have to talk. For more and details, I want to go to Ashley Johnson. Ashley, what do you got for us?
Well, Bill, that's right. We have gotten a report that the town of Mahwah, New Jersey, got a letter from the Attorney General's office in what is believed to be a discrimination investigation. We have calls into the Attorney General's office, and I did get a response back saying that they have no comment. In the meantime, this article from NorthJersey.com says neighboring towns are worried that waves of Jews are coming in. This controversial subject could strike into the heart of New Jersey's governor's race. Woodcliff Lake Mayor Carlos Rendo, who is Kim Guadango's running mate for lieutenant governor, was quoted in the article. In that town, they passed a no-knock ordinance to deter real estate solicitors paying visits to residents, pressuring to put their homes on the market. Now, Rendo has warned residents not to describe the solicitors as ultra-Orthodox Jews and says the ordinance is not intended to discriminate. Now, in the article, he is quoted saying, "We have a large Jewish community. We welcome everybody, whether they're Christians, Jews, Muslims. I don't think there should be any fear about who's coming in." Now, the New York Orthodox Jewish community has expressed interest in expanding the Eruv into Bergen County towns, including Montvale, Mahwah, and Upper Saddle River. Now, neighboring towns are on alert and worried that the expansion of the Eruv could negatively impact their school districts, property values, and the character of the community. So,
all right, thank you, Ashley. So I want to bring in our ACE panel. Thank you guys for joining us. Bob Bianchi, former Morris County prosecutor. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Bill.
Serena DeMasso, member of county government in, I would say, freeholder, but again, most people don't know what a freeholder is. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
In Monmouth County, and of course, Jim McQueeny. Welcome back. You are the host of New Jersey Now. Jim, I want to start with you. First of all, you live in Mahwah.
I do.
And you are the one that confirmed, in fact, that the Attorney General's office did, in fact, send a letter which indicates to you and to a lot of others that there might be an investigation underway.
Well, it's more than a letter. It's a civil rights subpoena that went to the town. All the correspondence is needed. They're checking on this to see whether there's civil rights violations on this. This starts to move into some very serious stuff, whether it's civil crimes or whether it's penalties, or lawsuits out of this thing. It really is testimony, I think, a bit to how farcical this has really become, but also a real legal liability as well. You know, before I came down here, I took a lot of photographs in the town, right? And this Eruv thing that we talked about, it's a plastic strip. I lived in Mahwah and I lived right next to the Eruv, and it was up for 2 months, right? Before I even noticed it, someone pointed it out that was there, right? But now I went and took photographs all around town, and I looked at all these religious symbols, all kinds of symbols on township property, near telephone poles, all this kind of stuff. There's Catholic churches. By the way, I shot one Catholic church. It's mine on there, right? My parish. It's Protestant churches, Lutheran churches. It's a Sikh temple. There's even a monastery sign on that property.
Let me ask you, to be fair, the difference is you've got religious symbols that are really an extension of where Hasidic Jews can keep holy their Sabbath. The difference is these are directional signs. Bob, what do you think? Because, a lot of people had said, you're an attorney. What does a letter actually mean? I mean, Jim's talking about a subpoena. We've gotten to the next level.
Yeah, the Division of Civil Rights in the Attorney General's office, appropriately, because this is affecting all communities, wants to find out what went on here to see whether this was pretextual and discriminatory. Bill, we have been dealing from the Italian-American community, the Irish community, the Germans that came before them, with the use of municipal ordinances as a way, as pretext, subterfuge to keep those communities from coming in. And that's what they're concerned about. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this. That is not considered a religious symbol.
You're a member of government. I mean, you hear this. Do you think that's accurate? And do you think that that's what they're doing? I hear Carlos Rendo, who's the mayor of Woodcliff Lakes, running as lieutenant governor under Kim Guadango's ticket and campaign for governor, talking about a no-knock rule. That, to me, that's something I've heard happen in town after town after town, not necessarily anti-Semitic or discriminatory.
I agree with you. I don't think it's anti-Semitic or discriminatory. I think that the problem we're facing here is people don't like change. They're worried about cultural change. They're worried about, much like you stated, Bob, with the Italians and the Irish and the Germans before them. People don't like change. They're worried that there's going to be a cultural shift. I say we have to accept people and be considerate of their beliefs and their rule, and we need to live together. We have to go from us versus them to we.
Bill,
Jim, you're like a political sage. I got to ask you before you answer.
Bill, it's anti-Semitic. I'm sorry.
How can you say that?
The underlying thing is anti-Semitic on this thing is absolutely true. That council should roll up its brown shirts, take off its arm sleeve and its wristband.
Now, Jim, before you jump
and
to that
get to
conclusion,
work on this thing.
Bob, you and I have talked about this. There are Jews that don't like this. So are the Jews anti-Semitic? I mean, that's painting with a bit of a broad brush.
We have lived in a culture where they're going to be arguing, oh, it's an increase in school funds and increase. Well, the town has to adopt to that. You cannot deny religious based on nationality, based on sex.
But how can you have
anti-Semitism
anti-Semitism if you've got Jews that are saying the same thing?
Well, because if it's being done for a religious reason, and the conservative and regular Jews, if you will, for lack of a better expression, I'm not Jewish myself, have a problem in some instances with Hasidic practices and Orthodox practices. They see themselves as different. So they're still discriminating, if you will, based on the religion.
So Jim was harsh about that. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
I don't think this is about anti-Semitism. Again, I think it's about change. I think it's about people not being willing to accept. We live in the United States of America. People are allowed to live where they want to live. And so it's not about anti-Semitism. It's about being afraid to have somebody different come into your community.
At the cost of the Jews in Mahwah. Listen, you asked how different Jews can be anti-Semitic, or in your term of this thing. Listen, the Irish, my father's an Irish immigrant, right? The Irish, no Irish need apply. But by the way, other Irish often agreed with that. They were called the lace curtain Irish as well. So it's in there. You see that.
Jim, but and to all of you actually, no one is saying no jobs. No one is saying no religious practice. This seems to be an outcry on the town saying we just don't want this, what they consider a dramatic change. I think it's a bit of a stretch to go from the town saying, how will this religious symbol, this extension of a religious symbol, impact my property value, and jump all the way to brown shirt Nazis. I think it's a bit of a stretch, Jim. Bob, what do you think?
But to Jim's point, though, these are unobtrusive things, and the courts have already ruled they are not symbols. They are not signs. These are private polls. They've been given permission. They're very unobtrusive, and it's what they call a religious accommodation. It's not supporting a particular religion. Legally, and I know it's going to be difficult for people to understand because they're very heated on the political side, like many things that we deal with in politics. Legally, they lose the
But this is not like you've got a group of skinheads out there, and this is you've got hundreds and hundreds of people coming out.
There are skinhead thoughts being reflected here. There's a court of law and there's a court of public opinion. Facebook is the court of public opinion.
Did you just say skinhead thoughts? What does that even mean?
When you see the phrase, Bill, when you see the phrase, those people, be alert for what they're really saying. And that phrase is really in Facebook, in the town, and it's shameful.
I only have a minute, so here's the question. Politically speaking, how does this impact the gubernatorial race? I mean, are you going to hear Phil Murphy talking about this?
I doubt it. It's a local issue that's so provocative. Both sides are in an impossible situation right now because of the incompetence.
But I think you already heard Carlos Rendo already weigh in. He said he welcomes everybody. He welcomes everybody into his community. He's the mayor of Woodcliff Lakes. He welcomes everybody, no matter your religion, your race, your ethnicity. You're all welcome.